All right, the second debate this evening involves the candidates for county attorney. Two you see before you on my right, your left, is Ken DeCock, the incumbent, and next to him, of course, Tucker Ruby, the challenger.
Four years ago, I ran on a platform of fairness, impartiality, dedication, and fiscal responsibility. I am the first county attorney with no private practice. I have aggressively prosecuted crime. I have worked with law enforcement and other agencies and have improved investigations and services. I founded the Mentor Program to help keep kids out of our system. I've streamlined procedures, digitized our records, and I've reduced the county attorney budget by over 10%. I've been an attorney for 13 years and a prosecutor for 9 years. My opponent has never served as a prosecutor and has only been an attorney for 4 years. I have begun to make changes that are resulting in a better, safer community for all of us. And I hope you will allow me to continue to work to make tomorrow better than today. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here tonight, taking time out of your schedules to be here with us. As was mentioned, my name is Tucker Ruby and I am running for county attorney. I was thinking about this race and talking to people the other day, and I remembered that I'm 4th generation Buffalo, my son's 5th. That doesn't make me better or worse than anybody. What that makes me is someone who cares about Johnson County. I think that's what we need from a county attorney, and that should be important to you, the voters. The second thing I think you need to think about is somebody who can do this job. I'm running on the platform of competence, integrity, and dependability. I can do this job. There are changes that need to be made. There are problems. We'll discuss some of those tonight. But I would appreciate your vote on August 19th. Thank you.
You've indicated you work well with every county department. However, you threatened to file lawsuits against the assessor and the county commission, and you launched an investigation into the sheriff's office for nepotism that fell flat. How do you reconcile those actions with your campaign statements?
Thank you for that question. In the first place, I think I want to make it clear that I did not threaten the county commissioners with anything. As their counsel, I told them that if they proceeded with actions that were improper or against in violation of statute, they could face legal ramifications. One of them being criminal prosecution, and the other being removal from office. It was my job as their counsel, their legal counsel, to advise them what they were doing was illegal. That's what I did. I didn't threaten anybody. And the sheriff, well, before I started, yeah, there was a problem with the sheriff and his son working for him. There are nepotism laws. And so, as your county attorney, it's my job to make sure that nobody is violating the laws, whether it's the sheriff, the commissioners, anybody. So I had an obligation to look into that. And the Attorney General said, no, there is no problem. So that's good. That is good, but it answered the question. It's my job to make sure everybody follows the law. And I don't hold favorites. It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter what your financial status is or what your social status is. It doesn't matter if you're an elected official or not. We all have to follow the laws of the state of Wyoming, and my job is to enforce those laws and make sure that everyone follows them.
I appreciate that. One of the things that I'm running on is the dependability, the ability to give the other county offices what they need and to be their counsel. Now, my opponent has said that's my job, to make sure everyone's doing their job. Part of his job is to not waste county resources chasing needles in haystacks. Part of his job is to get along with the other people. Part of his job is to give the advice that the other elected officials and other county officials need, so they don't have to go outside and get it from somewhere else and then be threatened with a lawsuit. That did happen to the assessor. There's been fighting with the assessor, with the county commissioners, and everyone. That is not an effective way to represent the county. As a private attorney, I have clients. It's my job to inform them of the law, but it's also my job to work for their benefit and to not fight with them and cause problems for them. That is my pledge to you, that if elected, I will do those things. I will represent the county.
Thank you.
The other day, the county assessor called me because she had an issue, and we went before the county commissioners to address that, because that's my job. We have put all of these things behind us, but that doesn't stop me from doing my job. My job is not to be a blank check for the elected officials. My job is to be a check on the other elected officials. I represent the people of Johnson County. And I'm not about to sit there and know that they're doing something improper and illegal and just check off and say it's okay. It's not okay. The people need a voice. They don't just need someone to go along to get along. I'm not going to do that. Thank you.
How can you claim experience as one of your tenets of your campaign when you only graduated from law school 4 years ago? How many felony cases have you defended? And what is your success rate?
That sounds like 3 questions.
All rolled into one.
But I'll answer that. So the first one is going to the experience. One of the tenets of what I'm running on is competence. Okay? I think that experience is part of that. And as I was discussing that with other people, in the last 4 years, I've gained a lot of experience. I've practiced all over the state doing criminal defense. I've practiced in tribal court, in the federal court in Yellowstone. I've argued in front of the Supreme Court down in Cheyenne. I have a lot of experience, and I have a lot of trial experience. As far as felony cases that I've defended, I'd have to run a check. It's somewhere in the realm of about 15 actual cases. Now, there are multiple counts, but about 15 cases. I currently have 3 cases that are felonies that I'm doing. As a defense attorney, that's pretty good, especially in Johnson County, to have those kind of numbers. I do have the experience necessary to do this job. Now, do I have experience as a prosecutor? No. But under my opponent's reasoning, what's going to happen is the incumbent always has to be county attorney, because he's the only one that has experience as a prosecutor. The truth is, there's a lot more to it than experience as a prosecutor. It's, can you do the job? Do you have the ability? Can you charge crimes correctly? And can you prosecute effectively? I can do that.
15 cases he's defended or working on. 1 actual trial that I know of in Johnson County. Being a prosecutor is totally different than being defense counsel. When you're a defense attorney, all you have to do is create doubt for 1 person. When you're a prosecutor, you have to eliminate reasonable doubt for 12 people. There is no prosecutor that I know of that can consistently or always accomplish that task. If you're going to take things to trial, the only way that you can go to trial, or you can ensure you're not going to lose, is to never go to trial. But you need to go to trial. You need to have trials. You need to know how to put trials on. You need to understand that. And you only get that by experience. And Mr. Ruby certainly could have gone out and become a deputy somewhere. I did. I became a deputy in Gillette to learn how to be a trial lawyer, a prosecutor. You don't just learn that by osmosis.
Thank you.
I could have gone somewhere to be a deputy, but I wanted to be in Buffalo. I want to have the opportunity to serve you. Now let's talk about Campbell County. Mr. Cox served there for, I think, 17 months tops, and then he was dismissed by the county attorney's office. Why? Nobody's really saying. Let's talk about the rest of it. 1 felony jury trial. Ask anybody who was on that jury how I did. Whether they thought I was competent counsel. They will say yes. I've had 3 other jury trials that I've done, each of them a victory. Bear in mind, your county attorney is going to have to take cases to trial, but felony cases, you get to decide what you charge. So you better charge something that you know you can prove. That's what I'm going to do. Charge cases that I can prove, and if cases are necessary to go to trial, we'll go to trial. I enjoy trial, and my record shows I can win at a trial.
Thank you. You said in your campaign that you've tried more cases in 4 years than your predecessor did in 8. Why? Is there more crime? What's your conviction success rate? Please explain that.
Thank you. First, before I get to that, I do want to address that I was never dismissed from any job ever. I was not dismissed from the Campbell County Attorney's Office. I left that office to pursue private practice, which is what I did and I had for 7 years. I've had 10 jury trials in the first 3 years that I had. Due to my success rate, we had 3 acquittals. 3 acquittals, the first of them were within the first year. When you go to trial, the reason you go to trial is because you have a good case and because a crime has been committed and you believe in it. And sometimes you lose those trials. You lose trials sometimes because one of your witnesses missed something in one of the cases. They didn't believe one of the statements the witness said. In one of the cases, they thought the officer should have done something else. In one of the cases, they were confused by the jury instructions because I didn't explain it good enough to them, and that was my fault. But you're going to lose cases if you take things to trial. But if you don't take things to trial, then crime runs rampant. And I think that the reason we had more trials is because I am more aggressive. I am willing to take these matters to trial. And you get better law enforcement when you go to trial because the law enforcement officers are under scrutiny as well. Everyone is under scrutiny. We had problems at the start. The last 2 trials were great successes because we have better investigations, better trials, and better service to the community.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I think that as voters, me as a voter, I want transparency from my elected official. And I want to have a straight answer about something. And so I would encourage everyone to go up and ask the district court to pull the files or the records for the jury trials. And you will find that the win-loss record for the current administration for the last 3 years is 40% wins. 4 of the jury trials that have been taken to trial have been won. 6 have been lost. Now, an absolute win is you win the whole case that you charge. That has only happened 4 times. 40% is not good enough for you, Johnson County. Get involved, get educated, learn the facts.
Yeah, please go check. Please do. I encourage you to do that. You know, Mr. Ruby seems to think that you have to have convictions on every single count. And that's not true, because what's the option? You charge with what you think you can prove, and then you go to trial. And sometimes the evidence is there for most of them, sometimes it's not there for some of them. That's why you charge more than 1 count, because you never know what a jury's going to look for. If you just charge 1 count, and that happens to be the one that you don't have all the evidence of, you get nothing. You don't get a second chance at it. You charge appropriately. You charge the charges that you can prove. Sometimes you miss some of the things. But what's the other alternative? Dismiss? That is not an alternative. That's not something I am willing to do. If these people are not willing to plead guilty, then we go to trial. And if we're going to go to trial, I don't go to trial on 1 count hoping that everything goes together. We'll go to trial on a couple of them so that if something goes wrong, because you never know with a jury trial, that's the way it is. And our success rate is much more than that, because we do have convictions.
Thank you.
Maybe not every one.
Your family has deep ties to Johnson County. Considering those ties, how do you plan to be a fair and equitable prosecutor?
I think the answer to that is integrity. Now, luckily, most of my family doesn't get in trouble much, so hopefully that continues. But the reality of it is, and I agree with Kim DeCock, in that if someone commits a crime, they commit a crime. Whether you're my friend, my neighbor, my family, whatever the case might be. You commit a crime, and you get prosecuted. I owe that to people of Johnson County, and I think that goes to exactly what I've talked about, integrity. You do what's right because it's right. Not because it's going to be popular to you, the voters. Not because, well, I was going to say I'd be threatened to be grounded, but my parents can't do that to me anymore. But it doesn't come down to, hey, are you need special treatment to your family? You need a special treatment to other people that you have a relationship with? No. The reality of it is, I built relationships with a lot of people in Johnson County, and I think that's a good thing. Why? Because I care about Johnson County, and so I want it to be safe. I want it to be a good place for my family and for your family. And so I don't want people that are committing crimes out on the street, regardless of what their name might be. And so I'm going to be out there working and prosecuting crimes effectively for that purpose. And there's no favoritism. Nobody gets it. Not even my mother.
You know, that's easy to say. I don't think he prosecuted his mother. But what about when the victim is his mother? What about when the victim is one of his clients? What about when the victim's his brother? You know, how does that affect how he's going to prosecute the other guy? Everybody needs to be treated fairly. Everybody needs to have the same rights as a victim, and the same rights as a defendant. You need impartiality, you need fairness. When you make those charging decisions, you need to look at the facts, and you look at the statutes. And they work together. Where it fits, it fits. And you can't look at, yeah, it kind of fits, but you know, this is my family member, so I'll, you know, make it not quite fit so much. You have to have that impartiality. And I have that impartiality. I don't have a private practice here, and I don't have family.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to keep going back. My family and my ties to the community are what make me the right person for Johnson County Attorney. They don't make me the bad person. They don't make me the wrong person. They make me the right person because I care about Johnson County, and I care about my family and your family. Doesn't matter who the victim is. Doesn't matter who the defendant is. It matters what the law is. My opponent has said on our community speech that he doesn't charge a crime unless he's sure he can prove it. He just backtracked from that. I will look at the crimes. I will look at what has happened, and I will use the upbringing that I had from my family. They taught me honesty. They taught me integrity. They taught me hard work, and I am thankful to them every day of my life. That is a good thing for Johnson County. It's a good thing for you and for me.
You ran your last campaign stating that as full-time county attorney there would be a significant savings to the county. You currently have 2 deputy attorneys and more staff than the prior administration, and your budget does not account for any facility costs of being located in the new multi-million-dollar Justice Center. Taking this into consideration, would you say that you've kept your promise to the voters? Please elaborate and explain.
Yes, I have. My budget is still, as I mentioned, 10% less. It's $40,000 less than it was when I took office. As far as staff goes, we have the same number of staff. The victim witness coordinator that had been run out of the crisis center is now run out of my office. That's a state-funded position that just got transferred over to mine. So staff now is the same. The costs are less. When I took office, yeah, we had to rent a space, but that space that we rented was only $750 a month. That's compared to the $2,000 a month we were paying prior to. So even if you add the $750 a month that we were paying, the budget would still be $30,000 less than it was when I took office. So I certainly have done that. We started for quite a while, we only had 2 deputies, and it was only when we started being more aggressive in our prosecution. We had all these jury trials come in, not just the felony ones, we had misdemeanor jury trials done. We were unable to do all of that trial work, do all of the criminal stuff that needed to be done, that was getting done because we were more aggressive in our prosecution, more aggressive in making sure the streets are safe, making sure that people who commit crimes are actually charged with them. But that made it so that we were unable to provide the county commissioners with the representation they needed at the time, so then we brought Barry Crago back.
I think it comes back to transparency once again, ladies and gentlemen. The actual budget for 2010-11, which is the previous administration when Kennecott came in, was $344,824.28. That was the actual expenditure for the year. The actual budget of the year that just ended was $340,333.98, a savings of approximately $4,000. However, the new budget does not include any cost for the facility that was built for the county attorney. That is a cost to you, the taxpayer, of about $1.2 million, which means if you depreciate that over 30 years, which is commonly done with real estate, that's a cost every year of $42,000 to you, the taxpayer. That does not include any cost for maintenance, repair, electricity, anything like that that would go into that new facility.
Thank you.
Well, the commissioners built quite a building. I didn't build it, and I had some problems with the way it was built. But that's not my budget. That's the commissioner's budget. So that part has nothing really to do with it. You take a look at what he just talked about on my budget. The actual budget was $340,000. We had some major jury trials. We had to bring witnesses in. If you recall, we had that person convicted of 11 counts of child abuse and of aggravated assault. We got somebody pretty bad off the streets, and it cost quite a bit of money for that one. But it was worth every penny of it, and I would do it again, and I will do it again, to keep the streets safe, to keep Johnson County safe, to keep my kids safe, and your kids safe, and Tucker's kids safe. Because that's what it's about. We do the job, we prosecute. Budgets aren't that tough. It costs what it costs, and you keep it down as low as you can keep it.
If elected county attorney, will you appoint Greg Goddard or Chris Wages as a deputy attorney, and will you maintain a private practice? Please explain.
First off, will I have a private practice? No, I will not. Secondly, will I hire Chris Wages or Greg Goddard? First off, I think that's a little presumptuous for me to say, when I'm elected, this is who's going to be my deputy. I will say about Chris and Greg, they gave me my opportunity to come back to Johnson County. I will be eternally grateful to them for that. They are good trial attorneys, great prosecutors. I've had the opportunity for 4 years to learn from them. They would be an asset to the county. I've not approached them about the possibility of them serving as my county or my deputy because I don't think that's appropriate. What I will tell you is that I will be your county attorney and that I will hire someone who can do the job, an effective prosecutor who can do the job. And I will consider all sources. During the last 4 years, I developed a network of attorneys throughout the state, lots of deputy attorneys and lots of prosecuting attorneys that I can pick from. Will Chris Wages and Greg Goddard be considered? I think I'd be crazy not to consider them. They do not have the job at this point. They are not guaranteed it, and I do not say that I will hire them. I haven't thought of it yet. Thank you.
Well, I can certainly understand not offering anybody a job before you get the position, because I was asked that question numerous times last time. But one thing I think that's important is goes back again to experience. Mr. Rubio only has 4 years. He's never prosecuted a case. He's going to have to get somebody in his office that knows how to be a prosecutor, that knows how to handle these tough felony cases, that knows how to work with the jury, how to work with law enforcement, knows what you need to actually get for evidence to prove every single element. It's not something you can learn being a defense attorney. It's only something you can learn being a prosecutor. The county cannot afford to give him the on-the-job experience it takes. And I think Mr. Ruby knows that. And I think he's going to have to hire somebody that has that experience. And that, of course, he's got it right in his office right now with Mr. Wages and Mr. Goddard. But we'll see should he be elected.
I knew that was going to come up as an issue. And I knew that that would be a question on many people's minds. What I can tell you is, I'm going to be the county attorney. I have not offered Chris Wages the job. I have not offered Greg Goddard the job of deputy. I will consider all candidates. I will get an experienced attorney who can do the job. That's what I will tell you. It is too presumptuous of me to say, yes, this person will be my deputy. And my opponent did exactly that last time. He would not tell anybody. I think that's appropriate. Because at this point, I haven't won anything. I'm not hanging the drapes. I have to win before I can get in there and do something else. What I can tell you is, one, I can do this job. I will be the boss as a county attorney, and whoever my deputy is will be a good deputy, whether he is from Johnson County or from outside it.
Thank you. You said during this campaign that you do not charge people you don't feel you can convict. Yet over a third of the time, the prosecution fails to convince a circuit court judge to bind a criminal case over to district court. Considering the greatly reduced threshold of the burden of proof during preliminary hearings, please reconcile your earlier statements with your actual record.
Thank you. You know, I wish I could. We recently got a new judge. And I tell you, when you go to before Judge Cundiff, if you can get by prelim, you can probably be guaranteed you're going to win a jury trial. She is tough. She is tough. I can tell you, we've had a case. I charged someone with pointing a firearm at a police officer. Charged him with threatening someone with a deadly weapon. She says, "Oh, that's not a threat." So she wouldn't bind it over. I had a young man that was charged with sexual abuse of a minor. He was 21, she was 14. That was fine. But the problem was Dad was okay with it, and he was actually facilitating it and encouraging it. So I charged Dad with aiding and abetting. Well, that's not a crime according to the judge either. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with, in my opinion, the judge not seeing things as being crimes that, to me, clearly are crimes. So that has changed substantially in the last year since Judge Cundiff became the new judge. Prior to that, with Judge Sampson, it was never a problem. But Judge Cundiff has a much higher standard of what she believes probable cause is. And you see that we've seen that not only in the felony cases, we see that in the misdemeanor cases as well. Motion hearings, where she just won't believe what the officers say and will throw out cases. So it's tough. It's a burden that we're dealing with.
I believe it's a poor workman that blames his tools. And I think that applies to blaming the judge. I was interested in the preliminary hearing, the statistics for that, so I went up to the court. I maybe didn't find every case, but I found out that the win percentage in preliminary hearings is 58% for this administration. That includes times with Judge Sampson, who'd been on the bench for many years, and he failed to bind over many, many cases because he did not think the case had been proven. Failing in a preliminary hearing proves two things. Either you cannot charge a crime correctly, which is bad, or you are failing to present the evidence in a coherent fashion so that whoever's listening, including the judge, can understand it and decide that the probable cause standard, which is the lowest standard possible, or next lowest standard possible, that the case should be bound over. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be county attorney.
Thank you. It's easy to throw stats around like that, but yeah, go check for yourselves. Please do. But please look at the cases too. Please look at what actually was charged and look at the facts behind the cases. They are what they are. And I'm not going to give up just because, you know, we have a judge that thinks it's okay to do certain things that clearly the statutes say are not. That is something that we're going to have to work on convincing the judge otherwise. But that's what I have to work with. And I'm not going to just say it's okay, because it's not okay. It's not okay for people to point guns at police officers. It's not okay for parents to allow their children to be sexually abused. It's not okay. And I'm not going to pretend it is, and I'm not going to not file charges because I'm concerned that the judge may not bind it over. My obligation is to make sure this community is safe, and I will continue to do that.
As county attorney, you will supervise a significant staff, as well as oversee a budget of $382,000. What experience do you have in matters of management, and how do you plan to overcome any shortcomings?
Well, I guess if we go back to my education, and I don't know if this is a qualifier, but while I was at the University of Wyoming, I graduated with honors in business administration and was voted by the faculty most likely to succeed in business administration. So there's that. The other side of that is where I work, I get to run my own practice. Now, I have bosses who oversee me and pay me, thankfully, but I get to decide who I hire as my secretary. I get to decide how I plan my schedule. I get to handle all things that deal with my cases specifically. I get to do that. I have the freedom to do that. In my family, we have a budget. If anyone knows my extended family, specifically my father, you know that he is an extremely conservative man fiscally. Some people might say cheap. I wouldn't say that because he's up there. But I have learned from him the importance of a dollar. I have learned from him that you need to stretch things. My wife and I practice that in our lives. Can I manage people? Absolutely. I've done that. I've served on boards and leadership positions in many different avenues. I can manage a budget, I can manage people.
In the first place, his budget will be $350,000, not $380,000. He shouldn't have any trouble at all, to be honest with you. I have a magnificent staff that works for me. If he gets elected, he can walk in and everything will be running smoothly. Everything will be right where it needs to be. All the cases, if he wants to, he can come in. I will explain everything to him. He will have no problem. because we have a very smooth running office. I have legal assistants that know exactly what they're doing. They're well trained. We have a victim witness coordinator that gets victims informed of their rights, of what they're doing, of what their cases are at, the status of their case at any given time. You'll be walking into a smooth, well-running department, so he shouldn't have any problem at all.
I guess I'd say thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think that that's great, that things are running smoothly. I hope they are running as smoothly as Mr. Cox says they are. Many things in the county tend to suggest that's not the case, but I hope that they are. I hope that there's a framework there. If I am elected, I will hold him to that statement, that I can come in and ask him about any case, and I will ask for his help and for his guidance on what he's done so that we can carry those cases through to fruition and make sure that the convictions happen and the people that should be off the streets in Johnson County should be, that the children are safe, that the county commissioners, the county assessor, and all the other elected officials and other county officials are getting the advice they deserve and they need to do their job for you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of claims made tonight. There's been a lot of claims made in this election, during this campaign. Many by my opponent, about his cooperation, about his competence, about his ability to do the job. I invite you to go to the courthouse, do the research, or come talk to me. I invite you to talk to law enforcement, the people at the Department of Family Services, to talk to the people in CASA, to talk to the other elected officials and county officials and see what's going on. Talk to the people that have been on his juries. I think if you do this, you will find that we need a change. And talk to the people I've dealt with, and I think you will find that I'm the best person for the job. Thank you very much. I would appreciate your vote August 19th.
You know, it's easy to criticize when you've never done the job. And Mr. Ruby has never done the job. And I haven't done the job for the last 4 years. You know, I have 13 years experience as a lawyer. And I have 9 years experience as a prosecutor. I have 7 years administrative experience. I have the experience bringing the agencies together to work together. You take a look at the last 2 trials. You look at the second-degree murder trial we had. You take a look at the trial for sexual abuse of these minor children. Those were tough trials that required a lot of cooperation between all of the agencies. The Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, the Department of Family Services. Without the complete cooperation, that would have been a disaster and it would have fallen apart. It took a while to get things going. It does when you're the new guy, just taking office. But I've done it, I've put it together. I have the experience, and I ask for your vote on August 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Incumbent Ken DeCock and challenger Tucker Ruby.